Americans have a few favorite pastimes. One of those, Americans absolutely love watching sports. At least many of them. Americans also love barbecues. Grilling burgers. Very good. Americans love swimming in swimming pools. They love relaxing by the ocean. They love great views. But one American pastime stands above them all. Americans absolutely love making fun of Congress. Especially how incompetent and silly, crazy Congress is. As Americans make fun of Congress for its incompetence, this has resulted in a change in how American presidents approach their policy. Today's question is, should the president decide when America goes to war? This question reflects a change in American governance, in the structure of American governance. In the past, Congress used to declare war specifically on other countries, but now Congress no longer declares war. Instead, the president effectively decides to go to war himself. So, to answer whether or not the president should be the one doing this, we'll look at three points in this day's debate. The outline of these 3 points will use the acronym WAR. So our first point, we'll start with the first letter of WAR, the world order, which we need to understand in order to look at this question. The second letter of WAR, A, which will be our second point, action, the action Trump has taken. And finally, our third point will be the result of Trump's action. To begin, let's analyze how the world order has changed since the Constitution was created to today. When the Constitution was created 250 years ago, the world was much slower paced. In the Constitution back then, Article 1, Section 8 gives Congress the authority to declare war. Meanwhile, Article 2, Section 2 says that the President is the Commander-in-Chief of the Army, Navy, and state militias. In effect, how the system worked was Congress would declare war and then the President would execute that war. However, the system has slowly changed. As the NPR reports on March 2, presidents stopped caring what Congress thinks about going to war. Since World War II, no wars have been declared, even though America has clearly fought in wars like the Korean War and the Vietnam War. The reason for this change can be seen by looking at the current world order. America has changed from effectively pursuing defensive wars to much more offensive wars, because America has become the world's policeman. That doesn't mean that America punishes every single act of evil in the world, but it does mean that America has generally taken the responsibility since World War II of defeating large threats to the world order. When countries threaten to destroy other countries, harm their neighbors, or violate basic principles such as freedom of the sea or free trade, America usually steps in. This changed since when America was first founded, when the British Empire was the empire that ensured freedom of the seas and freedom between nations. Now that America ensures it, America has begun to take a different type of military action. Instead of simply defending itself, America has to defend its interests out in the world in a very different type of military action. Congress couldn't quite foresee and our founding fathers couldn't quite foresee when writing the Constitution such radical change in America's geopolitical role. And thus, the Constitution does not fully prescribe how different types of action can be taken. We can see this in our second point, the action that Trump has taken. Interestingly, as the American Enterprise Institute reports on March 11, Republicans have been avoiding calling the recent actions in Iran a war, instead calling them a combat operation or a strategic threat removal. Republicans are doing this because they know that because Congress has specific authority to declare war, it would be illegal if this were technically called a war. However, if they simply call it a response to a threat, then that could make this action legal. The War Powers Resolution of 1973 by Congress says that the president can respond to military threats, but needs congressional approval within 60 days. The point of this bill was to limit the president's authority to pursue war, but it backfired. Instead, it gave presidents the ability to go into the world and pursue for 2 months without any oversight from Congress response to quote unquote threats. This did give the president much more authority and has been used by many presidents, including President Donald Trump. But furthermore, when Congress does not use the War Powers Resolution to stop the president's action, then he can simply continue his action without ever declaring a war. So, as we can see, Trump's recent action in Iran has actually violated this. It seems to have violated this principle of needing congressional approval for a war. But this isn't Trump breaking a norm. It's been a norm since World War II, where every single president, when taking military action, instead, it does not call it a war, instead using different terms to disguise it. So, what will be the result? And the result of this is simply that the world order has changed. The solution is complicated. The solution is complicated. It's not exactly clear how presidents should function in a new world. Obviously, presidents may need to respond to threats much quicker than Congress can approve them, and it may be much less unanimous whether or not presidents should respond to threats, but presidents may still need that power because of the structure of the world order has changed. As we've seen by first looking at the changing world order, then looking at Trump's recent action, we've seen that the result of that this change in American politics from Congress declaring wars to presidents doing it is not actually a change brought about by presidents. It instead reflects a change in the world order. And for this reason, it seems like the president should be the one deciding when America goes to war, at least in the short term.